The woods were quiet in a way that felt wrong. Not peaceful. Not calm. Empty. Like something had stepped out of the world and forgotten to return. I noticed it when my boots snapped a twig and the sound didn't echo. No birds scattered. No insects resumed their buzz. Even the wind seemed to pause, leaves frozen mid-shiver, as if the forest was listening. I stopped walking. That was my first mistake. Somewhere deep between the trees, something exhaled. Slow. Wet. Too close to be the wind. "Hello," I called, immediately hating myself for breaking the silence. My voice fell flat, swallowed whole. No bounce. No distance. Just gone. I told myself it was nothing. Woods do that. Sounds play tricks, distances lie. I took another step forward. Behind me something stepped too. Not a footfall. A placement. Careful. Deliberate. I turned around fast. Heart punching my ribs. Nothing. Just trees. Endless trunks standing shoulder to shoulder like they were guarding something. Or someone. That's when I saw it. Tied to a low branch with fraying rope was a shoe. Old. Mud-caked. The toe split open like it had been dragged for miles. Inside, the sock was still there. Empty. From deeper in the woods, a voice whispered, not loud enough to be heard, but clear enough to be understood. "Don't turn around again." I did anyway. And the forest finally remembered how to breathe. I told myself I was going into the woods to clear my head. That's what people say when they don't want to admit they're running from something. In my case, it was silence, the kind that follows you into rooms, sits beside you at night, and reminds you that no one is waiting anymore. Black Pine Forest was supposed to help with that. It had helped before. I parked my truck near the old service road just after noon. The sky was pale and overcast, stretched thin like it might tear. No other cars. No voices. Just the quiet hum of wind moving through treetops far above me. I liked that part. The trailhead sign was still there, though the paint had peeled so badly the rules were half gone. Only one sentence remained readable. "Stay on marked paths." I stepped past it without thinking. The first mile felt normal enough. Pine needles softened my footsteps. Sunlight filtered through branches in dull, uneven patches. I remember noticing how the forest smelled. Cold earth, sap, something faintly metallic underneath it all. After a while, the air felt heavier. Not thicker. Heavier. Like it pressed down on my shoulders. I stopped walking when I realized I couldn't hear myself breathing anymore. I stood there, chest rising and falling, but the sound never reached my ears. No echo. No movement around me. Even the wind had gone still. "That's weird," I said out loud. My voice sounded wrong, flat and close, like it never traveled more than a foot before dying. I checked my phone. No signal. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the time. According to my screen, only 20 minutes had passed since I left the truck. It felt like much longer. I kept moving. The trail markers stopped appearing soon after. At first, I assumed I'd missed one. Then I realized the trees were crowding closer together. their trunks narrowing the path until it felt less like a trail and more like a suggestion. I turned around to check my footprints. They were already gone. Pine needles had shifted, settled, erased the shape of my boots like I'd never been there at all. A small sound came from somewhere to my left. Not loud, careful, like something adjusting its position. "Hello," I called. Nothing answered. I laughed quietly, more to prove I could than because anything was funny. "Relax," I muttered. "You're just alone." The word alone felt wrong the moment I said it. As I walked deeper, the forest changed in ways I couldn't quite explain. The light dimmed, not because the sun moved, but because the trees leaned in. Their branches tangled overhead, sealing the sky away piece by piece until all that remained was a dull gray glow bleeding through needles. Then I heard it. Crying. Soft. Broken. Desperate. It sounded like it came from far away, but every step I took toward it made it feel closer. Too close. The sound slipped between trees, echoing from places it shouldn't have fit. "Hey," I said, my voice low now. "It's okay. I'm coming." The crying stopped. So suddenly it felt like someone had turned off the world. I froze. A shape moved ahead, thin, upright. A man stepped out from behind a tree, so quietly I didn't hear him arrive. His clothes were old, torn in places, hanging loose on his frame. His eyes were wide and unblinking, fixed on me like I was something he'd been waiting for. "You shouldn't answer voices out here," he said. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't used it in a long time. "I thought someone was hurt," I replied. He shook his head slowly. "That's how they get you to stop." "To stop what?" "Walking." A branch snapped behind me. I turned instinctively. Nothing was there. When I turned back, the man had stepped closer without making a sound. I hadn't heard his feet move. I hadn't heard anything. "They don't like it when you keep going," he whispered. "They walk when you stop. They listen when you speak." My throat tightened. "Who does?" His eyes flicked past me toward the trees. "The woods don't like being alone." Before I could say another word, he backed away, slow, deliberate, until the trees swallowed him whole. No rustle. No footstep. Just absence where a person had been. I stood there for a long time listening. That's when I realized something else was wrong. I couldn't hear the forest anymore. No wind. No movement. Just my heartbeat, loud and panicked in my ears. My phone vibrated. One message. "No sender. You came here to be alone. Now it's your turn to listen." Behind me, something placed its foot on the forest floor. Carefully. And this time, I didn't turn around. I didn't move for a long time after the footstep. I told myself that if I stayed still, if I didn't acknowledge it, whatever stood behind me might lose interest. That logic didn't come from reason. It came from instinct. The same instinct animals have when they sense a predator watching. My phone screen dimmed in my hand. No more messages. No signal. Just my reflection staring back at me. Pale and warped. Slowly, I started walking again. Every step felt like a negotiation. My muscles were tight, ready to bolt, but my legs moved carefully, deliberately, as if speed would offend the forest. I followed what I hoped was downhill, using the slope beneath my boots as a guide. The silence followed. Not chased. Not rushed. Followed. After some time, minutes, hours, I couldn't tell, I noticed something new. The trees were marked. At first, I thought it was moss or rot, but as I got closer, I saw shallow cuts carved into the bark. Symbols. Not letters. Not words. Just repeating shapes. Long vertical slashes crossed by short horizontal lines, over and over again. Someone had done this. Recently. "Hello." I tried again, quieter this time. The sound behind me stopped. I didn't dare turn around. I reached a clearing that shouldn't have existed. The trees opened suddenly, like curtains pulled apart, revealing a small circular patch of dead ground. No grass. No needles. Just bare dirt packed down hard. Dark in the center like it had been soaked again and again. And in the middle of it, a fire pit. Cold. Old. but used. I knelt beside it, brushing ash aside with shaking fingers. Beneath it were bones. Small ones. Animal, I hoped. I didn't look too closely. A voice spoke from the edge of the clearing. You found the listening place. I jumped to my feet. An old woman stood there, leaning on a crooked walking stick. Her hair was long and gray, tangled with twigs and pine needles. Her clothes looked layered, coats over dresses over scarves, as if she'd been adding pieces for years and never removing any. How long have you been out here? She asked. I don't know, I said. I got lost. She smiled faintly. No one ever comes here on purpose. Can you help me get back to the trail? Her eyes flicked to the trees behind me. Have they spoken to you yet? I swallowed. I heard things. That's early, she muttered. That's not good. What is this place? She tapped her stick against the dirt. Thump. This is where people used to stop pretending they were alone. I waited for her to explain. She didn't. Other people have been here? I asked. She nodded slowly. Some walked in. Some were called. Called how? Her gaze settled on me, heavy and knowing. Grief makes a loud sound in quiet places. That landed harder than I expected. Before I could respond, she turned and began walking toward a narrow gap in the trees. Come, she said. Before it gets dark. I thought you said not to stop walking. She paused. I said they don't like it when you stop. My skin prickled. Who's they? She started walking again. You'll hear them soon enough. Her cabin appeared like it had grown out of the forest itself. Low, crooked, half sunk into the earth, walls dark with age and moss. Smoke drifted from a bent metal chimney, though I hadn't smelled fire until I saw it. Inside, the air was warmer but wrong, stale, heavy, layered with old scents. Herbs hung from the ceiling in dried bundles. The walls were covered in photographs. Dozens of them. Men, women, children. Some smiling. Some solemn. Some staring directly into the camera with the same wide-eyed look I'd seen on the man earlier. Who are they? I asked. She didn't answer at first. She poured water from a kettle into 2 chipped mugs, her hands steady despite their age. They were alone, she said finally. My chest tightened. They're missing people. Most of them, she corrected. Some are still here. I looked back at the photos. A few of the faces looked familiar. Not personally, but the expressions. The hollow exhaustion. The same look I'd seen in my mirror the past few months. You can leave before nightfall, she said. But you have to listen. Listen to what? She met my eyes. When the forest answers you. I sat in silence after that. The cabin creaked softly, settling like an old body finding a comfortable position. Outside, the light faded faster than it should have. That man I saw earlier, I said. Is he lost? She interrupted. But not gone. What's the difference? Her lips pressed together. The lost still walk. A sound drifted in from outside. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Then another. And another. The old woman didn't react. She simply reached out and placed her hand on the table, palm down. Do not answer them, she said softly. No matter what they sound like. A voice came from just beyond the cabin wall. My voice. Hey, it said. You okay in there? My blood ran cold. The footsteps circled the cabin, stopping at the door. Something pressed against the wood, testing it. You came here to be alone, the voice whispered. We can help with that. The old woman leaned closer to me. Whatever they offer, she murmured. It always costs the same thing. What? I whispered back. Your place. The door handle twitched. I stared at it, heart hammering, as the realization settled deep in my gut. The woods didn't hunt bodies. They collected people who had nowhere else to be. And once they learned your voice, they never stopped using it. Night did not fall in Black Pine Forest. It arrived. One moment, gray light still leaked through the trees. The next, it was gone, snuffed out like a held breath finally released. No sunset. No warning. Just darkness settling into every gap, every space between branches, thick enough to feel against my skin. The cabin groaned. Not the soft settling creaks from before. This was deeper. Structural. Like the wood itself was bracing. Outside, footsteps multiplied. They circled the cabin in uneven rhythm. Some slow, some hurried, some dragging like broken things learning how to move again. None of them brushed against leaves. None of them snapped twigs. They walked without disturbing the forest. The old woman stood and began lighting candles. Short, misshapen stubs pressed into glass jars. Their flames burned low and dull, casting shadows that clung to the walls instead of stretching away. "Do they come every night?" I asked. She didn't answer. A knock sounded at the door. Polite. Careful. My voice spoke from the other side. "Hey, you don't have to be scared." I clamped a hand over my mouth. The woman finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet, not with fear but something heavier. "They practice," she said. "Listening to you. Wearing you down." The door creaked inward an inch. I hadn't heard it unlock. The woman slammed her walking stick against the floor. The sound cracked like a gunshot, and the door snapped shut. "Up," she said sharply. "Now." She led me through a narrow back room to a trapdoor half hidden beneath a woven rug. Cold air seeped up through the cracks, carrying the smell of damp earth and rot. "What's down there?" I asked. "Truth," she replied. "If you're willing to hear it." Another knock shook the front of the cabin. Harder this time. Impatient. We descended into darkness. The cellar was not a cellar. It was a tunnel, carved straight into the earth, its walls reinforced with old planks and stones scavenged from somewhere long forgotten. Symbols were etched everywhere, those same marks I'd seen on the trees, cut deep and dark like scars. Candles lined the floor, already lit. "I didn't light those," I whispered. "No," the woman said. "They did." We walked until the tunnel opened into a wider chamber. And I understood. This was the center. The place everything leaned toward. The chamber was ringed with wooden posts driven into the ground. Each one had a name carved into it. Some old, some recent. I found mine. Already there. My knees buckled. "That's not possible," I said. "I just got here." She rested a hand on my shoulder. "They knew you were coming long before you did." In the center of the chamber stood a stone basin, filled with dark water so still it reflected nothing. No candlelight. No faces. "This forest," she said, "was made into a place of taking." "By who?" "People who were afraid to be alone," she replied, "and more afraid to die forgotten." She told me then, quietly, steadily, about the pact. How, generations ago, settlers went missing in these woods. How grief-stricken families begged for answers, for signs, for voices. And how something old listened. It offered companionship. Never solitude. Never silence. Only a trade. They fed it stories, she said. Names. Memories. Pain. And in return it kept the dead close. And now? I asked. Now it's hungry. A sound echoed down the tunnel behind us. Footsteps, many of them, filling the passage, overlapping, accelerating. "They're coming for you," she said, "because you still have a place in the world." "I don't," I snapped. "That's why I came here." She shook her head. "That's why you survived this long." The first figure emerged into the chamber. Then another. Then dozens. They looked wrong. Not decayed, not monstrous. Just unfinished. Faces smoothed of detail, eyes too dark, mouths moving slightly as if rehearsing speech. One stepped forward. It had my face. "You don't belong out there anymore," it said. "You belong where no one leaves." The others echoed it in broken harmony. I backed toward the basin. "What happens if I say yes?" I asked. The woman's voice trembled. "You stop walking." The ground shifted. The chamber walls pulsed, contracting, the posts leaning inward as if drawn by gravity. The names carved into them began to bleed sap, thick, black and smelling of pine. The voices rose. Promises. Apologies. Confessions spoken in voices I recognized. My father's, my ex-wife's, my own thoughts whispered back at me. My head rang. Enough. I screamed. Silence slammed down so hard my ears hurt. From the basin something moved. The water rippled outward, and a shape rose. Tall, vast, undefined. It wasn't a body so much as an absence that bent everything around it. The candles dimmed, flames stretching toward it like they wanted to be extinguished. The forest had come to listen. You came to be alone, it said, not in words, but in understanding. And I answered. I felt myself unraveling. Memories slipping, details blurring. I couldn't remember my apartment, my job, my life outside the trees. The woman shouted over the growing pressure. Give it what it wants, or it will take it. What does it want? I cried. Her eyes met mine. Someone to stay awake. I understood then. It didn't want bodies. It wanted witnesses, caretakers, listeners, people who would never stop walking its paths, never leave its stories untold. The thing reached for me. I stepped backward and fell into the basin. Cold swallowed me whole. Voices screamed as the water closed overhead. I woke gasping, sprawled on the forest floor. Morning light filtered weakly through the trees. Birds sang. The world felt thinner. The cabin was gone. The tunnel. The chamber. All of it erased like a bad dream. I staggered to my feet and started walking. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. Hours later, maybe days, I stumbled onto the trailhead. My truck sat where I'd left it. But something was wrong. The Forest Service sign had changed. Beneath "Stay on marked paths," someone had carved a new line. If you hear your name, keep walking. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. One last message. Thank you for listening. And in the rearview mirror, just for a moment, I saw myself still standing between the trees, watching me leave, smiling. I drove for hours. The forest receded behind me, thinning into rolling fields and asphalt roads. Signs of civilization returned. Barns, fences, scattered cars, but nothing felt familiar. The world had tilted slightly on its axis, and I was not the same person who entered Black Pine Forest. I tried to tell someone. My friends, the police, anyone who would listen. But words felt hollow. I don't know how to explain it. I whispered to my brother over the phone. He said nothing. Just that long pause people give when they think someone has lost their mind. He was right. I didn't know how to explain it. The things I had seen, the voices, the figures, the sensation of being followed even when alone, it clung to me like a second skin. I could still hear whispers in the wind, shadows twitching in peripheral vision, the faint pressure of someone, or something, watching me when I wasn't looking. I tried to sleep that first night. It was impossible. Every time my eyes closed, the trees rose again, bending toward me, branches stretching like fingers. I would wake, heart pounding, with the echo of my own voice from the forest repeating what it had learned from me. You shouldn't have stopped walking. Days passed. Weeks. I moved apartments, changed routines, even left the city for a while. Nothing mattered. Nothing made the whispers stop. The faces from the cabin, the lost, haunted me in every reflective surface. I began to notice it more, the small things. The faint rustle when the house was empty. Footsteps behind me on quiet streets. Phone notifications that showed my name typed, but no sender. And always, the forest waiting at the edge of vision, just beyond the line of trees I could see from a window, or in a distant photo, or in the dark space between streetlights. I am careful now. I never go alone, never venture into quiet places without company. I never speak into the darkness unless someone is beside me to hear. But I know it is still out there, patient, waiting, because somewhere, deep in Black Pine Forest, my voice still walks among the trees. And one day it will call to someone else, and they will hear, and they will stop walking.